if you're telling a story that you don't care about, or if you're telling a story that the fans can tell you don't care about, you're wasting your time. And he always told me, if you're going to do something, make it count. Well, Coach Will has evolved dramatically over the years. I didn't think baseball would be such a big part of my gimmick. There wasn't really no one defining moment. I just had to keep proving myself to show that I'm going to be there and I'm going to put in the time and the effort. That set off this chain of events that I don't think anybody thought was going to last as long as it did. I joined Team Morales. I didn't want to join them. It was surreal. Atama, such a professional with everything. We had such a good match. He wanted to make sure this match, the story was told. I can proudly say that you and I really made each other think outside the box. This is the most fun I may have ever had as a referee. I am not exaggerating. And I'm like, why not Coach Will? He's like, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, hosted by Coach C, Chris Sanders, this is Best for Business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. This one is a long time coming. When I look at my career and everything Coach C has done, there's a lot of people to credit, but one of the people who are up there, Coach Will, man, thank you for everything. Thank you for joining me for this one.
I never thought you would say that, and like hearing you say that, you don't understand how much that means, dude, because we go back. We go way back to where we both really started getting into the scene. And if you gave us both $1,000 and said, where are we going to be in a few years? Never would have guessed this would be happening.
Yeah. It's nuts, man, but I'm curious for you. Something I'm always curious. I don't think I've ever asked you before pro wrestling. Your passion, obviously, for baseball. So I'm curious for you. Growing up, was baseball the number one goal at first?
It wasn't the number one goal, but 100% it was a passion. I mean, you were talking the Pawtucket Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox. I remember my first Pawtucket Red Sox game. I forgot who they were facing, but I lost a tooth that day eating an ice cream sandwich. And then my first Boston Red Sox game, I think I was 8 or 9, and it was against the Oakland Athletics, and we won 3-0. And these memories just stick with me. Like, I always loved baseball, Little League, T-ball. I tried out for the high school team. Like, it was just embedded in me, and it still is to this day.
Yeah, so what position were you? I'm curious for this.
I played outfield when I really sucked.
Okay.
Then one of my buddies started really getting me into it a lot more, and I became a first baseman, starting first baseman. Now that I'm older, I do like men's softball leagues. I'm a catcher, first baseman, and sometimes outfield. I have some wheels I can kick on here and there.
So when we talk your career, you go from baseball, loving baseball, to out of nowhere pro wrestling. So I'm curious for you. Always been a fan, and how do you make that transition into pro wrestling?
It was accidental. I was pushing 300 pounds. I was unhealthy. I wasn't doing good for myself. I had my kids, and it was at a point where I was playing with my kids on the floor, and it winded me, and it scared me. And I finally decided to step up, lose some weight. I lost about 40 pounds. And while doing this, I was still coaching for Mount Pleasant Little League. And one of the kids on the team, Logan, my son's friend, was going to a birthday party. He invited us, and it was a wrestling party at RWA. And, we went, we loved wrestling. And I saw these guys putting on a birthday show. My first interaction with RWA was at a birthday show. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. And every now and then we go to a couple of shows. And then RWA, Legacy 10 in West Warwick, the ice skating rink. If you actually go on YouTube, there's the thumbnail. If you look in the background, you see my bald, goateed face sitting there. It was at that show afterwards. I approached T, and I said, how does someone get into something like this? Well, he said it was show up practice one night, a training. So I did, and the rest is history.
I genuinely didn't know that, so I'm curious. Do you remember anything from that first birthday party show?
I remember the principal, I believe. We know him as Sterling.
Okay.
Chris Sterling was the principal, I believe. I don't remember much else. I really don't. It was a while ago, but for some reason that character stuck out to me because he's this big smiley guy. He goes and plays this hardcore principal who hates kids, and the character stuck out to me the most of
Nice.
everything that day.
Yeah, so I'm curious. So you go from wanting to go to a birthday show to telling T eventually you want to get involved. So when you start training, one person obviously Brickhouse Baker. So for you personally, what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned from him?
Make it real. Make it count. When you're in there, you're telling a story, and you want to tell a story that's going to capture your audience. And if you're telling a story that you don't care about, or if you're telling a story that the fans can tell you don't care about, you're wasting your time. You're wasting the paying fans' money's time. Um, it's have the passion. And he always told me, if you're going to do something, make it count. Um, you don't have to do 15, 20 moves in order to get a wrestling match over. If you're going to do 5 moves, make those 5 moves count. And that always stuck with me. To where, if I'm going to have a match, whether it's, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 10, whatever it is, whatever I do in that match, I want it to make sense, not just for myself and not just for my opponent, but for the fans. I want to make sure we're telling that story to where they have that chance to boo. They have that chance to cheer. They have that chance to be at the edge of their seat saying, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And if I can achieve that in every match I'm in, no matter how long or short, I did my job. And that is one big thing Brickhouse taught me is
Nice.
give a damn and show.
Yeah. So when I post this, it's gonna be in October for Ref Month. So you start off originally as a referee. So I'm curious, pro wrestling, the wrestling, was that always the goal and referee was just first, or how did that approach come to be?
That was absolutely the goal, was
Okay.
to wrestle. The refereeing, obviously, a lot of guys will tell you, and I'm sure you've heard in your podcast, refereeing was where a lot of guys started. Um, and I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity because I tell people all the time that refereeing is where I really was able to hone my craft with a lot of things. Like, as a fan, whether you're on watching on TV or watching ringside, you can kind of see what's going on, kind of hear it, but you
Yeah.
can't. But when you're in the ring and you hear these people talking and performing the moves, you're like, oh, damn, I see why they do it this way, and I see why they do it that way, and why position matters, and why center of the ring matters, and oh, why are they over here? And I was able to adjust a lot of what I was doing based on what I was referring. And also, it really gave me a passion for how much the referee matters in a match. And I am very happy to hear that a lot of workers appreciate the referees and what they do. You do hear a lot of workers thank the referees. They're just as part of the match. Some people will say just as important to the match as the workers in the match. And it's true. As a referee, I've seen referees make a match look bad. And not just because they miss a count or because they're in the wrong spot, but because they don't react or they're lifeless or they're dressed crappy. Oh my God, if you're a referee and you're not tucking in your shirt and I'm working with you, I'm going to give you crap.
Love it.
That up my ass so much.
Yeah.
Look professional. The wrestlers can wrestle however they want, look however they want for their character. But as a referee, you are supposed to be unbiased and professional.
hmm
Tuck in your shirt, wear black pants, wear black shoes, and be ready to move.
I love it from the rip. Now I'm curious for you when you talk refereeing. If you were to ask referee Will, is there a match or moment when you were refereeing that you were part of that stands out?
When I was a ref or a worker,
When
or
you were
just
refing at first, we'll get to wrestling, but anything refing
that stuck out.
or a match
Um,
that you knew right away you were proud to be a part of or something?
I wouldn't say there's a match in particular.
Okay.
I absolutely took everything in. There was a match that happened that made me understand how important the referee is, though. I wasn't part of it, but I witnessed it. It was Jeremy Bell was refereeing this match, and it was a tag match that went off the rails. And he was trying to do the 10 count, but he was trying to give the workers time to get in. They didn't. He called the match. Both teams were disqualified, and he came to the back furious. And that day sticks out the most because it made me understand that, again, if you're not respecting the ref, not letting the ref be a part of the match, then what are we doing? Just go out there and have a death match and have fun, you
Yeah.
know? And that day, I think that day sticks out more than any match I've ever refereed myself because it made me understand as a ref how important I am to that match.
Nice. Is there another Jeremy Bell story that sticks out for you? Obviously, you were refing at the same time that he was for a while.
Um, him and I. got close, not as close as he was with a lot of other
Yeah.
guys. That was probably one of the biggest stories, but I do remember many times being with him like House of Bricks and just being there with him and like how much he enjoyed being there, and that passion really resonated with me because I enjoyed being there, whether it's as a worker, as a ref, as a fan. Like you could just tell he enjoyed being there, and
Yeah.
like it spread to the locker room. It really did. When he passed, there was a reason why so many people were affected because it wasn't just another guy or another person. It was someone who legitimately cared about being around other people. And he made that locker room a better place. And I took that with me when he mentored me and he taught me so much as far as being a referee goes to what to do and what not to do. And every time he spoke, I listened. And I know he knew that because I respected the hell out of that man.
Yeah. You said a keyword mentors. Obviously, Brickhouse Baker, Jeremy Bell. For you, who else are some of your biggest mentors throughout your career?
So yeah, Brickhouse Baker absolutely was a big one. He was vital to me.
Yeah.
Stephen Lust was actually there at the beginning for me, and he pushed me a few times where, he didn't want to see me half-ass it. He didn't want to see me, you know, just go through the motions. He wanted to see how I went through the motions and step it up a notch. So I will say he definitely was there at the beginning, was awesome. David Baker at the beginning, I remember being scared out of my mind seeing this guy wrestle, but just I didn't want to get hit. He gave me a
Yeah.
clothesline one time, and I thought I was going to stop breathing for about 10 seconds. But yeah, like guys like that at the
Nice.
beginning, like I'm this, when I started, I wasn't a young buck. I
Hmm.
was in my 30s when I started. Ever. I didn't do backyard wrestling. I didn't do high school wrestling. My high school didn't even have wrestling when I was there.
Wow.
I didn't do collegiate wrestling. My first time in a ring was when I was 33 years old.
Wow.
And these guys sat there and treated me just like I was a newbie coming up. They didn't treat me any differently. They didn't give me any special privileges because I was older. They treated me like a rookie. And for that, I am eternally grateful to like Brickhouse Baker and David Baker and Steve Lust.
Yeah.
Um, training at the chop shop, I had the privilege of coming up with like AJP when he really started to take training seriously. Denzel Jordan trained with him. Justin Coco Sylvia. I know he hasn't been a
Yeah.
name you hear too often, but like all of us coming up and like we all listened and like we all listened to what the veterans had to say. And every time a veteran was at training, they all were so good to us. And those of us that wanted to be there, they gave us that time and that attention, and that stuck with me a long time. So, like, when you talk about people that took care of Coach Will growing up, yeah, like I was a young kid. One guy that also took his time to really make sure I was listening to him was Chris Dozer. And I distinctly remember a match I had. It was against Insane Dick Lane, which if you see this, I'm sorry to you because it was probably one of my least favorite matches. Nothing against Dick Lane. It was me. I was not in a good space that day. And Dozer took me to the side and he didn't rip into me. He didn't make me feel bad. He's like, listen, days like this are going to happen. And you just need to step away from it. He didn't criticize my match. He didn't tell me what I did wrong. He just talked. And I listened. And there's a lot of times where Chris, he was there for me. And to this day, when I see him, like when I saw him at RWA a few shows ago, I gave him the biggest hug. And, he does mean a lot to me. We don't get to talk as much. I don't get to see him as much, obviously, and it sucks because back in the day, he was always around and he always wanted to talk to me and, either tell me something I was doing or fix something. So he was a big part of it.
Nice. I'm trying to think the time frame. I know you start refereeing, but when is the time after how long you start deciding wrestling is something that you're comfortable with doing?
I think it was about a year or so.
Okay. Are you ready to start wrestling?
I was.
Okay.
I was. I like nothing crazy. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't the main event, but I had enough training under my belt to where I was able to hold my own. And it was something where it just kind of happened. The word is escaping me,
Like
but
organically or naturally?
thank you.
Yeah.
No, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Organically, where it was time for me to step into the ring, and step, away from just refereeing. And Brickhouse Baker was the one who gave me my first shot as a wrestler. Him and TCW back in the day, when they were also wrestling on the Shop
Yeah.
too, they were huge on Coach Will getting his ring experience, and that was actually the first company where I went from ref to wrestler. That's where the debut of Coach Will really happened was TCW, and that's where I started honing my skills as a wrestler.
What is Coach Will's first match?
My first, I was thinking about this, and the time I would have to look up exact
Yeah.
timing, but it's one of two. It was either my match against this Shadow Destroyer, I believe was the name, for TCW. Um, Kid was 6, 7 inches shorter than me and threw a suplex on me better than almost anybody I've ever had throw a suplex on me. I still to this day remember taking that. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna suplex you." I'm like, "All right." Went right over. I'm like, "Son of a bitch, she suplexed me." I was like, "That was
Wow.
great."
Yeah.
But it was either him or AJP, who I just want to take the time to say thank you to this kid because growing up in the wrestling world at the same time as him and I actually went up against each other in a couple of undocumented matches, and he was willing to work with me, and it was something where I didn't expect the outcome to be what it was, and
Mhm.
he was fine with it, and he always was fine working with me, and it stuck out to me and it really meant a lot to me because this is a young kid who I know is going to be a pro one day, and I had no business being in the ring with him in my eyes, and he was willing and agreed to do it, and we had a lot of matches. So one of those two were the first one. I can't recall exactly which one, but
Yeah.
both those matches stuck out a lot.
Yeah. When you think pro wrestlers, a lot of these wrestlers nowadays, they change their personas left and right. But for you, Coach Will, obviously you love baseball. Was this always the goal to involve baseball with wrestling?
No,
Okay.
it was not. Back to AJP, who I'm going to backtrack a bit and say he may have been one of my mentors as well,
Okay.
without
Nice.
even realizing he was. I remember vividly remember one day talking with AJP, and he's like, "All right, you need a character." And this is when he was still with TCW. What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And I'm like, why not Coach Will? He's like, no. I'm like, why? And he had his reasoning why, and like it made sense to some people, but I wasn't buying it. Um, I'm like, well, I want to try it. He's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I was doing the coach gimmick early on. I remember my first match, I think I wore my Mount Pleasant All-Stars jersey from
Okay.
when I was coaching. And that was my ring attire for a couple of matches. And it just, it took Coach Will has evolved dramatically over the years. If you look at Coach Will pre-COVID to Coach Will 2025, not the same guy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Um, but it has evolved. I didn't think baseball would be such a big part of my gimmick, but people were like, "Well, if you're gonna do the coaching gimmick, you got to do the baseball gimmick." And great respect to all the guys over the years that have given me things to look into. Devin Baker gave me a lot. The Baker family has been so good to me. They really have.
Yeah.
Devin, David, Brickhouse, like the knowledge they have all given to me, the ideas they've all given to me, the critique, the criticism, the praise, the feedback. The three of them really helped me start to shape Coach Will. And Devin and David were huge for it because they're bigger guys, and obviously I'm a bigger guy, so I really listened to them too a lot because there weren't a lot of big guys at the time that were willing to talk to me. And nothing against them, I may have just not had been ready to reach out to the bigger guys at the time and talk to them, like Sterling
Mhm.
or Kevin Giles, like all these guys that may have been around. I didn't know them that well, but because Brickhouse trained me, I knew the Baker brothers, and they really helped me start to shape, listen, why don't you put a swing into your move? Oh, what about the bases? And like we just put these ideas out there and started evolving it into my repertoire.
Nice.
And now it's to a point where I really, really am happy with what I have to pull from. And I'm still evolving it more and more,
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't think baseball would be so involved with where I am now, but I love it.
I'm curious, has Coach Will the idea like ever like gone away? You were thinking something else other than Coach Will, or Coach Will you were set on?
Nah, AJP couldn't win that one.
I was gonna say, were you ever tempted to change to anything else, or Coach Will you always?
So Coach will always. I have yet. to see a different Coach Will. There may or may not be somebody else out there who is has come about the same time as I did. He may have wrestled for House of Bricks a few times. I don't know if you may have heard of the Mongolian Assassin or not.
I've heard something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Alter Ego Mongolian Assassin was
Uh-huh.
a Brickhouse Baker's brainchild. Um, my first match with Mongolian was at Brickhouse, Fairhaven.
Okay.
It was against JB Tickle was my first match at House of Bricks, and this match was horrible from my point of view for a couple of things. One, I got lost halfway through, and him being who he was, and thank God Brickhouse matched me up with him. He saved me and still made me look like $1,000,000.
Nice.
And if you watch it back now, you might be able to see what happened. But yeah, no, he covered my ass. He made sure that match went well. But about 2 minutes in, and I can talk about this because you can see it. The Mongolian had a ponytail,
Okay.
fell off 2 minutes in. You literally see the Mongolian look around, it's on the floor. And we fixed that problem moving forward. The Mongolian never lost his hair again.
Amazing.
But like it was so to me it was so bad. And I go to the locker room, he comes down, he sees me, and he's like, "How do you feel?" I'm like, "Bad." He's like, "Why?" And I told him, he goes, "Kid, it's your first match. You're fine." And that right there made me realize not every match is going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to get through it, do your best to not just freak out in the moment,
Yeah.
which is what I almost did. And thank God I had a veteran to watch me and just get through the motions one way or another. If you're calling 15 spots and you mess up spot number seven, just move on,
Yeah.
But that's also why I like calling less spots because I do kind of have a hard time remembering certain things. So like talking is huge. And like he talked to me in that match. And thank God that, I've had a lot of guys that are able to talk and listen over the years. But yeah, the Mongolian stuck around the House of Bricks for a while. Haven't seen him in a couple of years,
Yeah.
but he's around, I think.
Yeah, someday. I'm curious for you when you talk about first. You had a lot of first matches. You lost your ponytail. The Mongolian lost ponytail. You lost spots, but you've picked it up. I'm curious for you when you look at Coach Will's career. To you, what is your first big opportunity, at least to you?
Um, Big opportunity. There wasn't really like a moment where I was like, "Oh my God, Coach Will is it."
Hmm.
The evolution really took some time. I was a family guy, I had kids,
Yeah.
and it wasn't something where I could go train 4 or 5 times a week, travel up to Massachusetts or Connecticut or New York. I had to stay local. Pawtucket was it for me, and I only went to training once a week. That's all we had. Excuse me. It had to take its time.
Hmm.
And I took a lot of opportunities. I wrestled and refereed for a lot of companies that aren't existent anymore. Back in the day, other chop shop, we had RWA, we had Proving Ground, we had RICW, MAW, got Wrestle Box or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. There
Yeah.
was so many promotions, and I almost refereed or wrestled for almost all of them. And it just evolved and evolved and evolved.
Outside
And
the box.
outside the box, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, there wasn't really no one defining moment. I just had to keep proving myself to
Yeah.
show that I'm going to be there and I'm going to put in the time and the effort to work with whoever steps through the ropes against me. I never said, no, I don't want to face this guy. I never said, oh, well, I want this or, oh, well, I want that or I'm not going to do it. No, like I wasn't a yes guy. Like I gave my opinions on
Yeah.
things and, I stood up for myself certain times, but there wasn't really many times where I had to. Like the promoters I worked with knew my comfort zone and they asked me questions to make sure they put me in positions that were good. So, my early days, you'll see a lot of like RICW where I cut my teeth hardcore there as Coach Will before I started becoming RWA more and more. And RICW is where you see Coach Will really start to evolve and become more and more and more. And that's probably where I started to get bigger and bigger is with that company. TCW, they came and went.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, before I went to RWA, I was trying to pick up any spots I could to get experience. So it was just an evolution over time.
Yeah. When you look at your career, we talk about biggest. Is there like a moment that you would consider your biggest test in wrestling?
Do you mean like as far as like an opponent
Maybe an
against me?
opponent or just a moment in time it was just challenging for you during wrestling or anything like that?
Um, you know, there were times where I really had to sit back and think about what I was going to do in a ring. I don't want to say I'm one dimensional, but I'm not guys like AJP and BMT and Mike Montero. These guys can go out there, and I'm not scared to admit the fact that these guys can go out there 10 to 15 minutes and bust their ass and do what they do. I obviously have work on myself that I need to do to continue getting to a better point. Um, so I think for me, it could be my own undoing, honestly. It's not really so much a person or a thing, it's myself. I need to make sure I'm taking care of myself so I can go in that ring against whoever I want to and be able to put on a good match with them. And, people might not understand how much goes into being in shape in wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, obviously you see a lot of wrestlers in shape, so you would think it. But then you see other guys that, look like me or bigger on TV and you go, oh, you don't have to be in shape. You do. You
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You can't just be some schmuck off the street to go 5 to 7 minutes. No, that's not a long time. BS. Chain wrestle for 30 seconds,
Yeah.
then run the ropes for another 30 seconds. After that minute, if you're not doing your cardio, you're blown up. And then the next 5 minutes feels like an hour.
Mhm.
And I've been there before. So, you know, being my own worst enemy would probably be the biggest thing.
Wow. So we talk about the start of pro wrestling. You had one of the kids you were coaching telling you about wrestling. So for you personally, I forgot how long later, what was it like for you to wrestle at Mount Pleasant? Obviously, you reigned from the fields of Mount Pleasant, which I don't even know how that's possible, but you reigned from the fields of Mount Pleasant. So for you to wrestle there, I forgot to count like two or three times at this point. What does that mean for you?
Everything.
Yeah.
It again, 7 years ago, you hand me $1,000. Tell me, do you think this is gonna happen? I tell you no. Um, I'm on the board for Mount Pleasant Little League. I've been coaching there for 15 years now. And one day I presented the idea to the board. I was like, hey, listen, um, why don't we have a wrestling show in the outfield? We could get some attention on the league. We can open up the concession stands, get some money for the league.
Mhm.
T was not looking to just take all the money and go. He wanted to get his company out there. So it was, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You bring us fans, you bring us some attention to the league. In exchange, we set up the ring in the outfield. And they were up for it. They did it. And it was something where the first night was pretty awesome. Seeing like the fans there and hearing the fans there for Coach Will was goosebumps.
Yeah.
There's no other way to explain it. I was so humbled to be able to put on the show for them there. Um, and like you said, we did it a few times over the years, and every single time we went back, I feel like the shares got bigger and bigger for Coach Will. I think the last time we were there was the first show back from COVID. I'm pretty sure, and it was, the introduction of David Morales,
Yeah.
and we saw where that history went. So it didn't just mean a lot to me, but it had an effect on RWA for years. Was that show and with the characters that came out of it and storylines. So it was everything I could have wanted plus more.
Yeah, you said the name David Morales. So for you aligning yourself with literally a state rep in pro wrestling, that doesn't really happen that often. And for this, Coach Will, obviously, a huge baby face. You talk about the cheers, everyone loves you. But starting to turn the page a little bit, trying to be on the bad side, what was that whole experience like for you? Because you were working with guys like Eddie Vegas, Mata, Danny Adam. You were working with some top tier talent.
I really was. And I need to give props to all those guys that you just mentioned, including T Phoenix, because obviously he had to be a part of this and allow it. And a lot of time went into this, a lot of energy, a lot of thinking. And I still remember the first promo we did where David Morales approached me with his business card and wanted me to join Team Morales. And I said no. It was in May, I think 2023. I want to say
Yeah,
2022
sounds right,
maybe.
yeah.
And that was it. That set off this chain of events that I don't think anybody thought was going to last as long as it did. to where, I joined Team Morales. I didn't want to join them, but freaking Souza disqualifying me.
What a guy.
Um, but I loved it. I loved every single time I came out of that curtain and heard the reactions from the crowd. Like they were so invested in not just me and not just Morales, but everyone involved in that had a piece of that storyline. And so many people were involved in that storyline if you think about it. Like I said, you had T, Kellen, Mighty Bosch, Vegas, Adam, Johnny Mata, myself. Then I think I said Danny Adam already. Carnivora, his team, the team
Yeah.
was there. My kids got involved at some point.
Yeah.
Like it was just this
You wrestled the New
monster.
England Legends at one point.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like that's not something I expected to happen. I'm
Yeah.
gonna wrestle against New England Hall of Famers. Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? And the story and what we produced and what we made with just a simple idea shows you how much people can come together and bring something to the fans that they're really going to appreciate. And we listened.
Yeah.
We didn't drag something out in my eyes. Like, I don't think that story ended any sooner or any later than it needed to. I think it ended perfectly when at Consequences of Greatness. And I loved every single moment leading up to that night.
Walk me through that. Well, first, before we get into that, I want to ask you about one guy, Danny Adam. Wrestling Danny Adam, you wrestled him first 1 year at Legacy, but wrestling him at what was it, the Columbus Theater, absolutely electric. But one thing I want to ask you about prior to this, I think you did it, it might have been a me to start, I could be wrong, but walk me through the scouting report because I absolutely loved it. Building up to these matches, finding your own unique way of doing it, and especially implying that coach into it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was I forget what made me start it. Um but I remember like, T Phoenix sticks out in my head because there are guys that promote their matches,
Mhm.
and some of them do better than others, let's be honest.
Yeah,
But T like was always so big on making sure like if he was involved in something, it meant something. And now obviously with him it's a different perspective because he's stepping away from the wrestling aspect of it. So, the last few years when he was involved, it was a big deal.
hmm
So when it came to me, I'm not going to go crazy every single show because of time and energy, but when I had matches that I knew were going to mean something to me, I was like, how can I go about this and bring my character into it? And I was like, I'm a coach. I'm going to go scout my opponent.
yeah.
And with Danny Adam, I think he might have been the first one I did it for. I had the Danny Adam Facts of Christmas or the 12 Facts of
Okay.
Christmas or something.
Yeah.
And I remember, chatting with him with it, and he was so on board with it. Like he was so cool, like pitching me ideas. One of my one of my favorite facts I did, he had posted something about his gerbils, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Skinny pigs, whatever they
And
were. Yeah.
yeah, and I made a picture of them holding up a Coach Wilson. Right? And I'm like, look at Danny Adams, a fact. Even your animals hate you and love Coach
I
Will.
love it.
That that's it. He's like his girlfriend found it funny. He was pissed about it. People were talking about it, and just silly things like that are what gets people's attention. Years ago, my son was playing in a little league game in North Providence, and I was in the bleachers watching, and I had a match coming up. I needed a tag team partner, and you might remember this. I took a piece of paper, and I'm like, Coach Will needs a partner. I need ideas. Who should I pick?
Yeah.
And I wrote some names down. I believe Coach C did make that
Yeah, he was an
list.
X next to him.
And I put a baseball next to it, took a picture and put it up. And the amount of attention that one post got, it wasn't even a fact. It was just one thing, but people were responding and oh my God, how about this guy? Oh, why not Coach C? Oh, what about Mongolian? Like all these things. I'm like, wow, people do pay attention. They
Yeah.
do give a shit. And I think that's what a lot of workers don't understand is you look at someone like Coach Will. No, I'm not walking around with a six pack. I'm not walking around in the prime of my life. But people pay attention to me because I put that energy back to them. The scouting report, that silly thing I put up. Whenever I put things up, they all mean something. And it doesn't take a lot of time. Sometimes it does, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Like I said, I can't always do it. But a lot of those posts don't take a lot of time. I currently already have ideas that I'm putting up because depending, when this goes out, I have my opponent set up for my next show. I
Mhm.
already have ideas of what I'm going to put out to promote that match, and they're going to take me 45 seconds. So why can't everyone do this for themselves? Why
Yeah.
can't everyone promote and get the fans invested? You're gonna go out there and wrestle. Do you want to go out there and wrestle in front of people that don't know who you are or don't know why you're out there? Or do you want them to say, "Oh yeah, there's so and so, and I can't wait to watch him wrestle tonight. He's been talking about it. He's been talking smack. Or I can't wait to watch this guy get his butt kicked. He's been talking so much smack against my favorite guy." Like it doesn't take a lot. And T Phoenix, I'm gonna say his name a lot about this because he's always what comes to mind, harps on this all the time. Just promote your match.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to, a pond or a lake and set up a tripod and have the perfect lighting. Like I'm going to the fields of Mount Pleasant, selfie mode, cut it with the baseball field in the background. There you
Yeah.
go. Bam.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot. And I love doing it. And
Mhm.
my job takes away from me a lot 'cause I'm away from the house a lot. So I can't put as much effort into it as I used to. But I absolutely loved doing it and loved getting the fans involved through social media because then at the show, they know what to expect. They know the Coach Will means business, and sometimes they know who I'm facing, so they know who to boo,
Yeah.
which is also big. There is no question mark. We're cheering this guy, we're booing this guy. We want this guy to win, we want this guy to lose. That's it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it. I think it was October 2023, Consequences of Greatness. You go through the gauntlet. First, Eddie Vegas, then Danny Adam, the main event, David Morales. For you, what's going through your mind? Obviously, huge story, huge factors. Danny Adam lays down for you. You beat Eddie Vegas. I think Johnny Mata comes back, and then you beat David Morales. What's going through in the final three hits?
Don't screw up. No, honestly, the biggest thing going through my head, it wasn't even the outcome, it was the reaction. I wanted to hear what the fans were going to sound like when that bell rang.
Mhm.
And I, when that bell rang and my hand was raised, like before my hand was even raised, when that bell rang and I heard the crowd erupt, I won't lie, I've watched it back a few times to hear the crowd reaction.
Yeah.
It was surreal.
Nice.
Surreal is the best word to put. Um, it was well over a year in the making for that night to happen. And I kudos to T because he really helped me set that night up. Like it wasn't my idea for the ending to be what it was. That was never my vision. It wasn't. My vision was to bring the fans into it and get them invested. When I was disqualified, it was my idea to be the guy to take the fall and get thrown into this horrible situation. Like I wanted that because I
Wow.
knew the fans would be invested and they were.
Mhm.
And then T took it home and he came up with the consequences of greatness as far as that goes. And we were able to just get our minds together and it was picture perfect. I wouldn't change, well, I changed one thing, but something else. I wouldn't change anything about how that night went. From Eddie Vegas doing his part to Johnny Mata adding that humor to it
Yeah.
the way he did, to Danny Adam adding his part to that story perfectly, perfectly. To me against Morales one on one. Like you you can't put that any other way. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And when you talk technically the team Morales and Coach Will's storyline, it goes years later, different version of them, but wrestling Eddie Vegas at Legacy, packed house, maybe RWA's biggest, I could be wrong, but you versus Eddie, and the fact that you had your son manage you, for you, what does that match mean for you?
That meant a lot in a different way. Again, where are you going to be in 7 years?
Yeah.
Are you going to have your son ringside with you? He'll be watching me. Is he going to be coming through the curtain with me?
Yeah.
Never would have saw that. Um, and I remember cutting the promo with him. It was in the basement, getting ready to face him, and I knew that Eddie was going to have his brother there, the preacher.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who can I have in my corner? And I remember cutting that promo, and I didn't tell my son that he was the one I was going to have in my corner. So that promo was genuine, his
Wow.
reaction, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to see his reaction. And like he like steps back, he's like, I'm like, yeah, it's you. And having him come out there with me, like he obviously he doesn't train for wrestling right now. He's doing high school wrestling. He's doing his thing. I don't want him near the ring for that reason. When he's done, maybe, but that's priority. But to have him ringside, be involved in the match and know what to do, when to do it, it was so awesome. I don't even care about how the ending of that match went, win or lose. Like I
Yeah.
just wanted that moment. and I had it and I got it. And that's not something a lot of people can say.
Mm.
I know obviously you have like the David Cashes with his kid and T with his kid, and you know, you have the father-son's connection. I didn't think I was ever going to get that. So the fact that I was able to have that moment, even if that's the only father-son moment I get in wrestling, like it meant everything. And I don't know if people understand how much it meant to me to have my son come to the ring with
Yeah.
me and be there, but it really did. And I thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for allowing that to happen and letting us tell that story and get over with the crowd the way it did. And I think it, again, I probably wouldn't have changed anything in that match. I think it went great.
Yeah, you talk about it, blows my mind. What if in the promo when you asked him, he told you like, "Sorry, I'm busy that day."
Nah, he's my mini me. He
Nice,
him and I. My wife says it all the time. She's like, "You guys are literally the same person," and we really are. Like you'll hear us talking and you'll hear us crack jokes and laugh, and we really are the same person.
nice.
It's it fills me with pride to see what he does and how he reacts to things because it makes our bond so much closer that I know what he's thinking almost before he even thinks it or says it out loud. So I knew that night that he was gonna buy it. There was gonna be no questions. Gonna no wait what? Like he literally
Yeah,
was right there on it. And a lot of other things in wrestling. He's been involved in a few things, but never anything like that. And I knew he'd be on for it, and he
nice.
was.
When you talk your career, there are things that you've done that are pretty cool, but I think the one that blew my mind completely is the fact that you got Antonio Atama technically back out of retirement for wrestling. So for you getting to wrestle a guy, his resume keeps going and going, but for you to wrestle him, big test for you, I guess, in a way. So wrestling him, what was that like? And how did you get him out of retirement?
First off, you're welcome. All right.
Because if you
So
didn't bring him back, he wouldn't probably. Safe to say, he might have not made event a legacy or anything like
I
that.
think I think that's very safe to say.
Yeah,
So my son wrestles high school.
yeah.
He wrestles in a division that wrestles Lincoln High School. And it was so was it 2025 right now, 2024, 20 was it 2022, I think. The
Okay.
Christmas 2022 or 23. Forgive me for not being exact. Um, I see Antonio Atama and I'm like, "Oh my God, I know who you are." So like I talked to him a little bit and like we chatted a bit, nothing much. So like a few, we'll cross paths at tournaments every now and then. And I started busting his chops. I'm like, we gotta face each other in the ring. Coach and coach, come on. The story writes itself. And at first I don't know if he thought I was joking, if I was serious. So one day I approached him after a tournament. And I'm like, all right, hear me out. I pitched him an idea and he kind of gave me a little look, raised his eyebrows. He's like, pitch it to T. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I went to T, sent him this nice, I think it was like a 4-minute message. I'm, explaining what's going on, who I've been talking to, and I don't remember the exact response, but he's like, if he's serious and wants to come back, we can make this work. So we again, T, thank you so much because we got the brains talking, we started chatting, and it was in Johnston. I forget which show it was. Antonio Atama comes back. He hears that I was talking smack because my son beat his heavyweight. True story.
Ah,
So, yeah, he was a sophomore at the time. So sophomore. So there he goes. 2 years ago,
okay.
he was a sophomore. He beat a senior. Huge deal in his eye, like in Will's eyes. It
Yeah.
was a huge match. And I made a comment about it in commentary one show, and that was the beginning of the seeds planting. So he comes back one show in Johnston. He goes, "Oh, I heard someone's been talking smack about me." Calls me out. Now he's still a face at this time because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And all I remember is him trying to talk and cut his promo on me nicely. And there's some fan in the crowd harassing him relentlessly. And I forget who it is. He knows who it is.
Yeah.
After about like 20 seconds, he stops mid promo and just starts talking smack to this guy. Because the guy remembered him from his days
Okay.
and as with influence.
Yeah.
And he remembers how much of a douche he was back in the day, and he clearly held on to this hatred for Atama.
Yeah.
So, when he did the low blow at the end of the promo, it just cemented the fact that he's still a douchebag.
Nice. I love that.
So when we got to wrestle each other,
Yeah.
like it was so awesome. Again, my son was involved, he was talking smack to him. And Atama was such a professional with everything. He was worried about being rusty. You kidding me? I'm like, you're not rusty, trust me, you're fine. And like we had such a good match. And again, you had that cheering, you had that booing. I didn't even go over, and I loved it. And that's what I wanted, that story. And that's why I think that's why T is always so open to me pitching some of these ideas because I'm not looking for a championship match. I'm not looking to be the main guy.
Yeah.
I just want to get asses in the seats and make them happy to be there. And if you look at Team Morales, you look at Adam, Danny Adam, you look at Atama, you look at all these stories I've been involved with, they've meant something. And the Atama story, knowing like I honestly, when I went to face him, didn't know how big he was in history until I started doing my research on him
Yeah.
because the facts of Coach Will.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm going against the big shot.
Yeah.
And I told this to him. He brushed me off. He goes, "No, you're not." I go, "No, I am." And this is crazy. And I thanked him probably a half dozen times
Hmm.
for facing me that day. Um, and now look at him again. You're welcome.
Wow. Craziest moment for me in like last year when I was just walking through Walmart, I see him. I said, I heard you might be wrestling. He's like, ah, no, I ain't doing anything. And then you text me, he's like, he's doing it. I marked out. One match I want to ask you about. Maybe there's not a crazy story, but the final ever match that Coach C will manage, Coach Will is a part of. So I'm curious for you, but from your perspective, wrestling Ryan Frost at CCRI, a place that has a lot of history with you. So for you, what does that match mean? I guess we can get into our little history, but wrestling Ryan Frost, you don't see big guy and big guy that often.
No, you don't. We don't have a ton of big guys in RWA. That not so much that I wouldn't face, but just I don't see a reason to yet.
Mhm.
So like I went up against Muddy Bosch once, and we had a good match. It was a couple of years ago in Riverside, I think.
Yeah.
And we had a great match, and I would love throwing down with him again, but we wanted to make sense. So watch this fight. Nick Jerry, love that guy. He would watch this fight for great reasons. Raising money for different reasons and different um communities.
Mhm.
Whatever it was, he always had a reason for it. So whenever he asked me to be a part of it, whether as a ref or a wrestler, I jumped at it.
Weren't you like
So
the Dad Unicorn one show?
Dadacorn,
That was
yes,
right. Yeah.
Dadacorn has a 0-1 record in a Rumble.
Love it.
Oh my God, I forgot about
I
that.
just thought of it. Yeah. Watch this fight
My
Rumble, everybody.
daughter popped so hard when I came through that curtain. I did not tell her what I was doing, and her face was all I remember from that match.
Nice.
I know I got chopped a lot.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Um, God, your memory is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ryan, I knew he was a bigger deal, and he so professional. Like when we spoke, like he was so serious when we spoke about our match and what we were going to do. And like, if people are around, he's like, "Come here, let's go over here and talk." He didn't want distractions, and he wanted to make sure this match, the story was told.
Hmm.
And he put out the points. He was the veteran. I listened. I made sure, I added 2 cents here and there, but he led the way, and I loved everything we did that show. It was great. The timing, I thought we got over, and the biggest compliment I can receive as a worker is after a match, the worker tells me, "I'll wrestle you anytime." And he told that to me, and to this day it sticks. So Ryan Frost, if you watch this, man, thank you very much, and I'd love to again throw it on with you anytime.
You didn't, did you do it later on? Or no, it's you only one time, Ryan Frost.
I feel like he made a comment about this on one of his podcasts that it was more than once, but I feel like it was only once that
Okay.
him and I threw down. If we did cross paths, I apologize for not remembering. Maybe that one just stuck out the most,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was only once.
Yeah.
But we have crossed paths in other things.
Okay. So I'm curious for you when you look at the Coach C and Coach Will history. For you personally, is there a match that stands out?
I mean, not so much in matches, moments.
Yeah, yeah.
You tortured me.
Yeah,
You
something like
you
that.
tortured me. You were relentless. You were so mad that there was another coach involved, even though I was wrestling and you were managing, and it had nothing to do with each other. You were all over my case. And honestly, I tell people this all the time, and I'm pretty sure I told you, and
Yeah.
if I haven't told you yet, you are a big reason why Coach Will started to evolve the way he did. The attention you gave me, even though it was negative, no publicity is bad publicity.
Hmm.
And you spoke about me so often that it made people want to see me,
Yeah.
whether it was to get trounced or to wrestle. you were always pushing that Coach Will name, and yeah, it definitely helped Coach C as well, like
Yeah.
come up and start to. Well, who's Coach C? Oh, he's this annoying kid that's harassing Coach Will, or he's this annoying manager, and he's managing all these guys and all these girls and different promotions. I think you managed what at one point 100 people almost,
Yeah.
or
Something like
something like
that.
that.
Yeah.
You had a picture; it was just
Yeah. The
faces,
alumni. Yeah.
alumni. It was incredible. Um, but yeah, our history goes back to I remember, smashing a clipboard over your head.
Yeah.
And then you low blowing me not once, but twice.
Twice.
One of which being the night I won a belt. And
Yeah.
you took that moment.
Well, like we were.
I remember going through the curtain after that moment, and Brickhouse loved it.
Wow.
Loved what you did.
Yeah, you talk about RACW. They ran for the Chop Shop. They ran every other week. So for me and you, like it was reps for us to keep growing. Like I didn't know. I think I was like 11, 12 years old what I was even doing at that point. So to find a way to like stand out and do stuff, like I managed Devin Baker against you, Ryan Frost. There was a list of people, but it was about the reps. And I guess at the end of the day, how can we stand out in sort of a way?
Yeah, what do you mean exactly? Like as
Because
far as
RACW obviously different storylines. So what could we add? There's something unique. There's a coach and another coach. So I remember the first time I
oh
managed against you. I think you did a sliding baseball tackle. You kicked me in the back, and then we've transformed to so many different things.
yeah, sorry, I misunderstood.
That's fine.
Yeah, we always found ways to do something different. I remember you helping out the ring. You were sweeping one time, and I took a picture of you sweeping
Yeah,
and put it up and like talk smack about you sweeping. Like this is all this kid's ever gonna do, and like just harassing you if I was in the ringside and you came out to manage somebody, and I would just get in your face and you'd stare at me and then walk off, and we just always kept that going. Like that energy was always there, even after a show, we didn't talk. We didn't cross paths. If someone saw me, they'd be like, "Hey, Coach C's over there," and I look at you like ready to jump you, but I know you couldn't because it'd be child assault, and I ain't going to jail, brother.
yeah,
But yeah, and that was a running joke too. Like, oh, he's a minor, you can't hit him. Well, if he's in the ring, I can.
yeah.
Hence the clipboard. Oh,
I would say like for me personally, my biggest regret is we didn't get to play out the restraining order type thing.
oh my God. I wish. I really that would have. It
Because
would have
that
been
was
so.
something that was pretty different too in pro wrestling. Then COVID happened right then. The last match we had before COVID, I managed you against Harry Brooks. And that's when the restraining order
Oh
comes
my
around.
God, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh my God. Yep. You were the manager for Coach Will.
Yeah, because you won, you SOB. You had to win.
No, I think I can proudly say that you and I really made each other think outside the box.
Mhm.
And even if it was just to get laughs, like that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, it's not about getting yourself over. It's about doing something that's going to get the eyes on you.
Mhm.
Some of the stuff I did made you look good. Some of the stuff you did made me look good. And we didn't care.
Yeah.
It wasn't about, oh, Coach C's better than me. Oh, Coach Will's bigger than me. It wasn't about that. It was about, oh, I'm better than Coach Will because of this. Oh, I'm better than Coach C because of this. And like we were just silly with it.
Yeah.
And we never put each other down. We never were out to hurt each other's character. And we used that to our advantage. And the promotions did too. Let's be honest. Like
Mhm.
a lot of people were looking forward to seeing what you and I were going to do, either against each other or with our spots in the show.
Yeah.
And I truly appreciate how much time you gave to Coach Will because you didn't need to, especially at that age. Like you could have been focusing on so many other things, but you wanted to grow yourself, and you found a way to do it, with another coach
Yeah.
and make it work. And a lot of that was your ideas too. And look where you are now. I'm not surprised in the least.
Well, I say all the time I'm not satisfied, but when you talk about experiences, one's unique to me about you that you've done. Do you have any stories recently? I know the recent one, I believe you wrestled as Donkey Kong, but Kineticon all in general.
Oh my God! Shout out to Kev, RICW, because this guy, he would randomly tag me and stuff for people looking for refs.
Mhm.
A few years ago, he tagged me. It was for something called Kineticon, Cosplay Championship Wrestling. Tetsu out of
Yeah.
Connecticut. They have, as far as I know, the only six-sided ring around.
Yeah.
I don't know of another one. You might,
No,
but
I think in this area that's like the only one right now.
yeah. So, this guy Jarrell, he made an agreement with Kineticon to have Tetsu show up and do Cosplay Championship Wrestling, and they needed a referee one weekend. This is about 3 years ago. Got tagged in it by Kev, and I hit the guy up. I go, "Hey, are you looking for a ref?" He goes, "Yeah, I could use one." Show up, And I get there, it's a Comic-Con, but there's a ring and there's a locker. I walk in there, there's all these guys I've never seen before and girls I've never seen before. I recognize Q, the ref, he was there. I think one other guy was there. Um, but I'm here to referee Cosplay Championship. I'm like, so what's Cosplay Championship? He goes, cosplay. We're gonna have character wrestlers dress as characters and they're
Yeah.
gonna wrestle. I'm like, okay. When I tell you this is the most fun I may have ever had as a referee. I am not exaggerating. I have refereed matches where it's like Bullrog from Street Fighter taking on like Blade. Or I've refereed Master Roshi and Krillin against Jury and Vega from Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I've refereed Blade against Deathface or Death Mask, I forget his
Yeah.
name. And like these wrestlers, like understand who I was reffing. I wasn't reffing guys that were up and coming. I was refereeing Bobby Ocean. I was refereeing Dan the Man. I was refereeing Vander. Ryan Frost was there. Like
Kingpin.
Kingpin, yeah. Like I'm refereeing guys that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And when I referee these matches, you're in character. So I'd have a match where it was Fat Gum against I'm not too big on too many comics or anime, but it
Yeah.
was a character with electricity. And every time he touched somebody, he zapped them. So Fat Gum, the character, can absorb energy, not the referee. So at one point, I check on the character and he zaps me and I'm out cold.
Wow.
So Fat Gum goes to pin him, I'm out. So he needs to wake me up. So he drags me into the middle of the ring, takes the guy's hands, rubs them together, and gives me the shot to wake me up. And it was the funniest thing. I had to do everything in my power not to laugh
Yeah.
and not break character as ref, but it was so much fun to do this. And then last year, I pitched the idea because the last match he does every year on Sunday is a Super Smash Brothers Brawl, where he has guys cosplay as people from the game,
Yeah.
and they just have a rumble. And I'm like, hey, listen, I am a worker as well, as you know. I'd love to be DK and be a character next year. And he's like, absolutely. So, 2025 comes around, he hits me up. He goes, hey, are you still willing to do DK? I need you as a ref, but can you be DK also? I go, absolutely. Most fun I've ever had.
Wow.
I don't care. Anyone can take offense to this because it's not meant to be. It was
Yeah.
fun. I go out there. The crowd blew up when DK came through that curtain. It was the first time seeing DK. And I go in there and again, you're talking about professionals here that are doing this, and they let me get my stuff in to get DK over. And the pop was unbelievable. Even after the match, people coming up to me, oh my God, you did so good as DK. And they're just smiling and they enjoyed themselves. And I can't wait to go back next year. And I look forward to doing it as many years as cosplay lets me come back and do it because it was a blast. If you haven't gone yet, you need to make it up there one year.
Yeah. I'm curious, is there anything you noticed wrestling in the six-sided compared to the regular ring?
Yeah, especially as a ref. I'm sure
Okay.
as a worker, it's a little trickier. I didn't have many spots that night,
Okay.
but as a ref position, yeah, these guys and girls are hitting the ropes, and I need to watch their eyes to see where they're going. Because if not, they're gonna whip someone right into me, and I'm gonna mess up the whole match.
Yeah.
So I was always on my feet, trying to get out of the way and trying to move while keeping hard cam in mind. Can't be in the way of hard cam. And it's a little trickier to know placement in the ring. And I'm sure even the workers sometimes when they go to whip somebody, lining it up isn't directly across from you all the time. And some of the guys did get kind of messed up trying to find it. They found it quick, but you could see like these guys don't wrestle six-sided rings too often. And it was a learning curve the first year, but you learn, you adapt.
Yeah. I'm curious for you. I don't know if you have an answer to this. Do you have a favorite promo that you've cut?
Favorite promo that I cut.
Because something that stands out about Coach Will we talk about it pretty much every match you do, cutting a promo, finding a way to stand out. But is there one that stands out for you?
It's a good question, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Um, um, I may be forgetting things again. The
Yeah.
memory isn't what it used to be. I like humorous ones. I did one with the Mighty Bosch, and I think Vegas was there, and it was something we did outside the library. No, Morales was there, and like he popped up out of nowhere, and I think we had to retake it because I was laughing.
Wow.
but it was just stupid and silly.
Yeah.
Um, anything. Oh, I know what one pops out. Yes, it was when I was Team Morales,
Okay.
and it was outside the donut shop on Smith Street.
Needs? Yeah.
Need Donut,
Yeah.
and David Morales, myself, and Eddie Vegas cut a promo where we were waiting for Morales to show up, and I'm at a table with Vegas, and there's a box of donuts sitting there, and I keep trying to get a donut, and Eddie keeps smacking my hand because he
Okay.
won't let me eat until boss shows up.
Yeah.
And then I'm like getting all pissed off because I want to eat a donut. So finally Morales shows up and he still won't let me have a donut, but he gets Vegas one. And then I came up with an idea, and Morales later he goes, "All right, you can have a donut now." And I take the donut, and while they're talking, I'm in the background like, "This is a pretty good donut." Like
Yeah.
it's just, it was so stupid, but we did it in one take, and it was so natural to like just be there with these guys and have fun. That one probably sticks out the most
Nice.
as far as like silliness goes.
Yeah.
I did one years ago at Mount Pleasant where I was facing Harry Brooks, and I had a baseball with his name written on it. And to end it, I hit it, knocked it for a home run out of the park, but we did it on camera. And I hit it, knocked it out of the park. I walk off camera, and all you hear is my kid go, "It's out of here." It's the cutest thing, but
Yeah.
it's how the video ended, and it was like perfect.
Yeah. When we talk content, I gotta ask you, and we put this when we talk about Coach C. Walk me through your idea. Your idea, you probably killed it, but doing coaches construction. I think you were the last ever episode.
Oh my God.
Because
I
I
forgot.
remember out of the blue, you hit me up with this idea. I said, yeah, sure. You filmed yours, and then I never posted another one. So I think you killed it, but thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Listen, you evolved too, okay?
Yeah, I did a podcast instead, maybe a little better.
Yeah. Nah, it was again, it's about agreeing on something that you think is going to work. And you've always been so receptive to my ideas to where you and I could do something together. We've had ideas, like you said, the restraining order thing, when you turned 18 years old, I'm waiting outside your house with a bat to kick
Yeah,
your ass,
yeah,
and you got Secret Service there waiting. Like
love it.
we had so many things we didn't get to do. And if the opportunity ever arises for us to work together, I would jump at it in a heartbeat. And I
Yeah,
know our futures are obviously going to unravel at some point, and that's fine because I'm going to go off into the sunset a lot sooner than you. But if we get that opportunity, I would jump at it because we've always been comfortable together. We've
hmm
always listened to each other, which is also huge. And like things like coaches construction, the football picks,
yeah,
like you've always included me in stuff, and I feel like we've always been able to give something back to the fans.
nice. Well, if somebody was to ask you, Coach Will, is there a match that defines your career?
Um, The Morales one was a big one. It really showed the heart of Coach Will. It really showed that, I'm not in it just to wrestle. I'm in it for myself, and I'm
Mhm.
in it to show that I want to stick around, and I will go through hell and high water to do it. That match, it did mean a lot to me. And don't get me wrong, because that's not taking away from a lot of other matches I've had in my life. Because thinking back on it, and so many people that have been willing to step in the ring with me, even RWA. There's been some guys where their first match in RWA was against me.
Mhm.
And to me, that's an honor that I'm trusted to go out there and throw down with these guys to see what they have to offer for us. Um, Louis Leon, his first match was against me in RWA. Peter Gianni, I'm pretty sure his first singles match in RWA was against me. And the list is a little bit longer than that
Yeah,
as well. And it's an honor. There's no other word to use that I'm trusted to go out there and be able to have a match with these guys and see how it goes. And I've always said yes. I've never been like, nah, I'm not facing that guy. T says something to me, or I say something to T, and we always talk about it. And it's something where I always enjoy being out there. But the Morales moment and winning that hype championship was probably the defining moment for me. It was huge.
nice. If someone was to ask you, who brings the best out of Coach Will in the ring?
I knew this question was coming. Character wise, Nick Marchant, we've had a few matches over the years, and he's such a heel. He's such a dick.
Yeah,
Uh, but he plays to my character so well. He really does. And like it's so easy to get the crowd behind me against him. Danny Adam, the two matches we had, I really had to make sure I was paying attention in that ring with him. Um, it's those two guys stick out really quick. Because I haven't really faced the same guy too often. So those two I've probably had the most multiple matches against. AJP, we were a lot
Yeah.
greener, a lot younger. I haven't faced him in a few years. So I can't say he brings out the best, but
Yeah.
at the beginning, he helped me cut my teeth. So I give him credit as well.
Nice. Earlier, you talked about eventually Coach will rise into the sunset. I'm curious for you. Do you have any goals in pro wrestling now, or you're just doing it because you absolutely love it?
Yeah, I think I don't really have any goals. I'm 40 years old. I've been doing this for 7 years now, 7, 8 years, and I never thought it was gonna last this long.
Hmm.
I never thought that I would be a staple in a company as long as I have been.
Yeah.
Not only just in the company, but like people want to see me, like they want to cheer me, and it's humbling. It's so awesome to hear that when I come out there, I add to the show I'm on. And it's not just RWA. Todd Graham hit me up last year and he needed a referee last minute. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come up there to PG. First time ever being on a PG show was as a
Hmm.
ref. And I remember there was a moment where there was water in the ring and I had to go out there and wipe it up. So I go running, I slide in, and some guy like calls out safe, and I get up and did the whole baseball thing. So from the rafters, you hear Todd go, "Do the thing." And I look up at him. Now again, I'm a ref. I'm not
Yeah.
there to get myself over. So I look at him and dead serious. I'm like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah." All right, and I jump right into character. I get up and go, "You guys want the thing?" The crowd cheers.
Wow.
I did the thing and they cheered. I'm like, these people don't know me from a hole in the wall, but they got behind what I just did. And that really makes me happy to know that where I go, I add to the crowd. Whenever I have someone come up to me after a match and say, I loved watching you, even this year, I've had like kids come up to me and say, Oh my God, you were my favorite wrestler. I'm like, Me? They go, Yeah, like watching you go kick butt. I'm like, That's awesome.
Nice.
That's it. That's my goal is just, I guess that's my goal is to
Yeah.
continue making people happy. I have adults who are like, Oh my God, it was great watching you. My first time being at a show, even to this day. And I'm like, Damn, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Well, Coach Will, I say it all the time. Thank you for everything. However, I've ended every interview of Best for Business the same. The day you decide it's all done and you want to ride into the sunset, which isn't happening anytime soon, but the day you decide it's all done, what do you want Coach Will's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
I want my legacy to be whenever my name is brought up in a locker room, I want people to smile. I want people to know that whenever Coach Will was on a card or in a show or at a show, whether it was just to build a ring or to ref or to commentate or to wrestle, he was there because he wanted to be there and he was there because his heart was in it. I'm not looking to do 1,000 spots and have this incredibly acrobatic match. I can't. I know that. I know my limitations. But I want to go out there and put on a show in a match that will entertain the fans and keep them invested and keep them wanting to come back. And at the same time, I want to be a presence in the locker room where guys and girls can come up to me and talk to me and feel comfortable around me. Maybe not so much ask my opinion because I don't look to give advice on wrestling. If they ask, I'll give it. But I want to be that guy that you can go up to and just chat with. And if my name brings joy and happiness to somebody, my legacy is complete then.
Nice. Coach Will, I've said it before in this interview. Thank you for everything. I said it. Coach C wouldn't be where he is without Coach Will, so thank you. And thank you for doing this.
No, thank you. That's Remarcus ditto, man. I wouldn't be where I am without you. I am dead set on that. So thank you, and I can't wait to see you killing it in 5 years wherever you are, man.
Thank you for doing this, and thank you everybody for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.